What it do, y'all? We live, baby. We live. Just got finished with the workout. Man, I walked out. When I walked in, it was sunny. You see the shades on my head. Walked out. Man, this what we dealing with. I ain't mad at it, though. I ain't mad at it. Shoot, just give me time to record. Yeah, gonna do it like that. I had a great week working out. It was challenging, but I rose to the challenge. Yeah, it was very challenging, very emotional. A lot of stuff going on, but I made every workout that I needed to make it to. Let me tell y'all something. The hardest part about, for me, and I know, and I see now that I ain't the only one that goes through these things, but the hardest part for me on your journey when you're trying to grow and change is like really trying to grow, and you know you're doing it for yourself. You ain't doing it for nobody else, but nobody don't recognize the changes, you know. And you're doing it for yourself per se, but you're also doing it for the people that love you too, because as everybody say, everything is to destine and grow and change. So you're trying to make the changes, you're trying to grow. And again, like I said, I'm doing it for yourself. You're doing it for yourself, but also you're doing it for your loved ones and the people that's around you. And it's so hard when you know you putting in the work. And nobody recognizes it, and everybody still treats you the same. But you keep going, you fight through it all. You know, you don't let that stop you from making the changes that you need to make. You don't let that stop you from working hard. But again, that don't make it not hurt. I was watching the Cam Newton podcast, and he had Wood, the dude who played Bobby Brown in his the little movie or whatever. And he just, you know, he broke down crying, dealing with the same thing that I said, you know. And he said, you know, it's so hard when you work so hard to change yourself and nobody recognizes. This man got, you know, he's successful in his craft, and that shit still broken down. So imagine me dealing with it. You know, I dealt with that. I'm dealing with that. Dealing with it, and still where I'm at. You know, to keep going and all that. I know about that. Like they say, hard work. You know, I'm doing that. But again, though, that don't mean that shit don't hurt. Nobody don't see it. Nobody want to acknowledge it. Everybody still saying you this, you that. When you know you putting the work in, you know. But you don't stop. You don't stop. You keep going. And that's what I'm doing. That's what Wood did. That's, you know, the ones that doing that, it show up, you see it, and people be wondering how and why. Like, they put God first, you know, they trusting in God. They doing the things that I was talking about in my last little segment, you know. But yeah, you just gotta, you know, no matter what people say, what people, you know, they don't recognize it or whatever, you just gotta keep fighting, keep going through it. Keep going, don't stop. I ain't letting up, you know, I'm still doing it. Whether the people and my loved ones in my life recognize or see the changes or not, I'm gonna keep growing, I'm gonna keep growing, keep trying to grow, keep trying to be a better person. You know, that's my goals, you know, that's what I got going on. But again, that don't change the fact that shit still hurt and it's still hard, you know. That's still another emotion that I have to deal with and get over, you know. And keep going, not be mad at nobody because they don't recognize it or they don't see it, still love them the same, you know, and all that. That took time. I'm still working on that part, still loving and caring and all that. I ain't changing up now. The switch up ain't in me. Still loving, still being that same loving, caring person to the people that I love, to my loved ones, you know. That's the hardest part, to still keep going. That keep going is hard. That keep going is hard. Like, that keep going is hard. To still, you know, love the ones that when they don't recognize and say you this and say you that, that's the hard one. That's the hard one right there, to keep going in. Cause I be wanting to go off. I be wanting to say F y'all and all that, but I can't do it. I ain't built like that for real. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't built like that. The God in me won't let me do that. You know what I'm talking about? It's the God in me. He won't let me do that. He will not let me do that. But the rain ain't finna let up, so I'm finna go on, pick up my food and get to the house, man. Y'all be blessed, be a blessing.